I'm autistic, and I'm also a late diagnosed autistic, so I grew up autistic without any of the knowledge or understanding. And I also can kind of retrospectively look back and see how that impacted my life and see all of the ways in which I was unfortunately affected by my autism and also being unaware of my autism. And I talk about autism and things on this channel, and the reality is that autism is a disability, and yeah, it's going to affect your life and it's going to affect all aspects of your life in one way or another. And it's not to say that there aren't certain strengths that autistic people have, the same way as, you know, any person has their strengths and their weaknesses, but there are a lot of things about being autistic that can make it exceptionally harder for an autistic person to navigate the world that is majority neurotypical or not autistic. So this is not to downplay or make anyone feel bad about their autism. Personally, I thought it could be interesting to actually talk about some of the reasons that I dislike having autism, or some of the more difficult aspects that at the end of the day make being autistic what it is, and things that I honestly at many times wish that I could change, but I can't. I mean, I can do things to cope or lessen the blow of these difficult characteristics of my being, but ultimately I can't get rid of them because I'm here and it's me and this is my brain. First thing that I genuinely dislike about being autistic are the social difficulties that come along with it and impact all of us to one extent or another. It can be very, very difficult and very frustrating when you see how your ability to thrive in the social world impacts your life and wanting to change it and wanting it to be different, but at the end of the day, like, the way that you communicate or the way that you connect with people just doesn't seem to fit. It doesn't seem to fit, and it doesn't seem to work as well or as seamlessly as you would like it to. And it's hard being confused and not knowing how to approach situations and not knowing how to respond to situations, and wishing that things were different, wishing that you were more of a seamless communicator and that you could just go befriend that person you want to be friends with so badly, but like, you literally don't know how. It's so frustrating to like want something, right? And you're like, but I don't know how. Like, what do I say? What do I do? Especially like when you've had many circumstances in your life where you've likely been bullied, or things didn't work out too well for you, or you learned a lot of things the hard way, and really struggling to communicate affects so many things in your life. I mean, it impacts your ability to not be lonely, making friends, or being involved with family. It impacts your life in terms of work and your career, your ability to get along with coworkers, your ability to charm people, to get a promotion, to be likable, to be someone that employers want working for them. And most autistic people are just not well received in the eyes of neurotypicals in that sense, and a lot of us struggle when it comes to things like work and school and friendships and dating. And it's had a very, very big impact on my life, especially when it comes to being lonely and not doing well when it comes to making friends or keeping friends, which is really important, right? Like, it's such a big part of life to be connected to other people in one way or another, but that is something that I typically always really, really lack. And you feel the effects of it, especially as the years go on. You feel the effects of isolation, of struggling to make or keep friendships, of just not generally being a social human or not doing well when you try. It's definitely something that catches up to you, and it has for sure caught up to me over the years. The second thing that I don't enjoy about being autistic is the way that I am just generally more sensitive and less tolerant to seemingly everything in the world. One thing I couldn't miss growing up and even now was like observing the people around me that were my same age and my same situation, and just like watching people handle things or watching people not be bothered by things that I was so bothered by. Seeing that like it seemed like most people weren't impacted by things that severely impacted me. And that definitely brings on all those thoughts of what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? Am I broken? What is going on? Why am I this way? And it seems like most other people aren't this way. Something is wrong. The third thing that I dislike is just the general resistance to change and the lack of adaptability when it comes to most things in life. Change is such a constant in life, and there's nothing that you can do to get away from it. There's nothing that you can do to prevent that from happening. Life is going to change and it's not going to stop changing, and that's just something that life does, right? That is the circle of life. That is living. I do at times envy people who are just so adaptable, people who can kind of go with the flow and like have that mindset when it comes to life or relationships or just their day-to-day. I envy that, right? Because I'm like, you're cool. Like, you are so cool. You're cool for that. And I wish that I was like you. And I've tried very hard to be like you, but I'm not. I can't do it. I am not that adaptable person. I very much need structure and I very much need routine, and that is how I keep my sanity, and that is how I stay regulated, and that is how I function. And that kind of goes in hand with the fourth thing that I wanted to mention, which is that need for routine. Routine is good, and in many ways it can be beneficial, especially when it comes to things like taking care of yourself or your health, or just generally like working towards goals in life. Routine is good. For example, if you wake up every day and stretch, like in the long run, that's probably going to do you good. But it's very frustrating when life does not go to plan, as it often doesn't, and you lose your routine, or you are unable to like follow through with that routine, and like the actual like detriment that that has, like mentally and physically. Like, my body is so dependent on routine that if I like skip a certain step in my routine and I don't do that, I will not only like mentally feel the stress of that, but physically as well. Like, my body will feel it because I'm just like genuinely dysregulated, because there are these things that I do every day and there is an order that I do them all in, and if that isn't something that I can do, like, I'm going to be out of whack and I'm going to feel it. And that's just really annoying, right? Because sometimes it's like, can I just be flexible? Can I just be that adaptable human being? But it's just generally not how I tend to work in this life. But yeah, those are just a few things that I generally dislike about autism at times. In a world that is not necessarily accommodating to autistic people, in many ways you are going to struggle and you are going to have a hard time, right? Depending on a lot of factors, it can be easier or harder. But I see a lot of people talking about like the strengths, or like learning to like leverage the strengths that you have as a neurodivergent or autistic person, and I think that's amazing. I think that's great, and I think we need more of that in the world. But I also think that there's nothing wrong with talking about the bad as well, because the bad can at times be very bad, and at the very least we can kind of like hear each other out when it comes to that, and maybe find some sort of like comfort in the fact that, yeah, a lot of us struggle and a lot of us struggle a lot, and I think that's just an unavoidable part of being neurodivergent. That's something that you can't avoid, and I think that it's okay to kind of express those parts of being autistic as well. But yeah, if you listen to me ramble, thanks, and I hope you do something to keep yourself alive today, like eat some food, drink some water, just keep going. Waking up is a lot, and breathing for a whole day is a lot, and you should be proud of yourself for that.